Welcome to
Tea Time with the Judges. This is Dr. James Judge.
And I'm Dr. Kalie Judge.
And we are here to bring you another episode. This one is called The 5 Roads to Alzheimer's,
Dementia,
and Brain Fog. And we're going to teach you tips and tricks on how to prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and brain fog when we teach you what causes those things.
Yeah, we're also going to just give you some insight to what the causes are and what really is the, like we said, the road to those things. We want to build healthy brains and fit brains, but that takes understanding what's leading us to sick brains and unhealthy brains in order to stay away from that. We always want to know what the opposite of where we're going is, and then also define where we want to be.
I was just watching the news. I regularly do not watch the news, but I need to be informed on what's going on out there today. And I just talked to Dr. Kalie about this. There's just so much destruction all over the place. And unfortunately, a tragedy just happened in Vegas, and the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, just called for mental health care reform. And if you think about it, when we talk about Alzheimer's, when we talk about brain fog, when we talk about dementia, or when we talk about somebody that gets on top of a building and shoots 59 people dead and injures over 500 people, these are brains that are not functioning correctly. And I don't care what you label it as, we're going to help you help yourselves and help this community and this entire world, because it's happening way too often. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the things that we're going to talk about today will not only help just people that have brain fog and Alzheimer's, but help people that have that mental disorder, that mental disconnect, or whatever it is that's causing people to do so many destructive things.
One of the things that I love to live by and teach by is broken people break people, and healed people heal people. And we just want to heal more people. Not from just by us, by our hands, but we want to give you the information that you need to take the action to make sure that you are healed. Because healed people don't go out and do things like that. Healed people don't hurt their loved ones. We were talking about this yesterday, that it's not just in Vegas, and it's not just at Columbine. It's in our hometowns. It's right down the street from us. It's 20 miles down the road from us. It's things that are happening here in our town. So we want to be the people that reach out and let you know that there's another way, that there is hope, that there is a way to heal and function at your optimal potential. That is not God's best for you, what's happening around our world right now. It's just not God's best for us. And so we want to just give you insight and know that you've got people on your side that want to see God's best for you.
Yeah, I've done research for years on these shootings, and 9 times out of 10, or even 9.9 times out of 10, those people are on some sort of antidepressant medication. And these medications have been linked to things like that are happening, like 20 miles down the road here at Northern Illinois University around 10 years ago. As soon as I started to open this practice, the same thing happened inside of a school building, right? A crazy man came up there and started to open fire on people that were attending class, and it killed, I think, 25 people. So when we talk about this stuff today, it's serious. It's not just about Alzheimer's. It's not, like I said, it's not just about dementia. It's about you functioning at your optimal level and helping other people function at their optimal level as well. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Now, Alzheimer's is just so scary to me. Like, this is one of the diseases that I would never want to get in my entire... I don't want to get any disease in my life, but losing my memory, let's say after 70 years of life, and forgetting my kids' names, forgetting my spouse's names, forgetting my people that I love and care about, and all the memories that I've created throughout the 70 years, I'm like, to me, it's so devastating to even think about what people have to go through. And not just people forgetting, but they become violent with their families, and they become just disconnected from the world. And it's just so sad to watch. It's really sad what's happening out there today.
Yeah, so if we want to look at the statistics, we know that 1 in 8 people at the age of 65 starts to majorly show signs of cognitive decline. That means that their memory's lost, they've got the brain fog, they're forgetting more things, forgetting people's names, forgetting where they're going. And then when we shoot up to 80 years old, it's 1 in every 2 people. So 50% of the population, 80 years and above are dealing with Alzheimer's or some sort of dementia, so some sort of major cognitive issue. And that's just not okay with us because it doesn't need to be that way. But it's obviously very common, 1 in 2 people. You know, and then you think about the people that are diagnosed with that, but then also think about the caregivers, think about the families. It's affecting, I think it's like 7 people wide out of the person that gets actually ill. And it's just, I have a few patients that are taking care of their moms and their dads, and the pain that is in their hearts and in their eyes when they come back from visiting them or taking care of them, it's just devastating for me. And it's, my one patient, she said to me, she's like, I wish nobody had to go through what I have to go through right now. And I just, you know, almost to the point of praying for their parents to be taken by the Lord and get to go home and out of this misery.
And not only does it affect you mentally, like the kids, like if my mom or my father had to go through this, like it costs us $3,000 to $5,000 a month to put them in a facility to take care of them. That's the average cost. So do the math, 5 times 12, you know, that's a lot of money per year. And if they are in there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that's a huge financial cost. And again, we're helping people like you prevent this from having to go through this with your children as well. So we're going to, again, teach you the 5 roads to the Alzheimer's disease, to the dementia, and to brain fog, because I think they're all interrelated with each other. So let's go over number 1, Dr. Kalie.
Number 1 is type 3 diabetes.
Many people have heard of type 1 diabetes, the juvenile onset or the congenital diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is the acquired diabetes through lifestyle. Most people don't know what type 3 diabetes is. Type 2 diabetes is the misfire, right? It's the producing the correct amount of insulin because there's fractured signaling from the brain to the pancreas. What do you think causes the misfire from the brain to the pancreas, Dr. Kalie?
Are you talking like foods that we're eating,
right.
Or yeah? So you know, we can even go into subluxations with that. You know, our bodies aren't functioning and healing properly the way that they're designed to. But then it's also all the food that we're putting into our system, and you know, people are loading up with sugar. Think about what you ate for breakfast this morning. Did you have a bowl of cereal with some milk and then a side of Pop-Tarts and some Cinnabons on the way to work? And then you got some coffee and you put some sugar and some cream in there, and it's just destroying your hormones, destroying your pancreas, destroying your entire system inside.
So type 2 diabetes for a length of time causes signaling disruption in the brain. Insulin signaling disruption in the brain. So basically type 3 diabetes could be a brain disorder caused by type 2 diabetes. So basically type 3 diabetes is diabetes of the brain, causing dementia. Alzheimer's, again, it says right here, Alzheimer's may be a brain-related form of diabetes. So take that and chew on that for a second, because again, everything we're going to talk about today is directly correlated to what we are consuming through our mouths and through media, because we're creating this environment of fast pace. Hey, let's eat all this sugar and get all this caffeine into us, and then we're good. So even a mild elevation of blood sugar, a level of around 105 or 110, is associated with an elevated dementia rate with everybody. Okay, so number 2 is gut dysfunction. Okay, gut dysfunction, we've got 5 things that cause gut dysfunction. We just talked about 1, and that's excess sugar. So how does excess sugar cause dysfunction of the gut?
Well, sugar in general causes inflammation. So inflammation is the root cause, I believe, of all diseases. You can't find one disease that doesn't have inflammation associated with it. But then as you have more sugar in there, sugar also feeds cancer. It also feeds when you have inflammation in your system, it's destroying the cells and it's destroying the communication from the brain to the body, and your brain is just on this overload, rapid fire impact.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a cornfield out there, and it's not just the cane sugar that we get, the natural sugar, which is 10 times better for you than the stuff that we create in a laboratory, the sugar that's the cheap but tastes very sweet, and it's put into all of your products. You know, basically anything that you open from a package has this high fructose corn syrup in it, and it's highly toxic. They say 1 drop, if you take it just intravenously, will kill you. Number 2 is processed foods.
Yeah, so in alignment with the sugars, I want to talk about sugar substitutes.
Yeah.
Because aspartame is one of the biggest killers of your brain cells, right? They're any of those, like the Splendas, the Equals, the Sweet and Lows, all those awesome things that we always see at the dinner tables at restaurants. Those are known as neurotoxins, so nervous system toxins. So it's almost as if, like, when you're eating Sweet and Low or Equal or anything that has aspartame in it, like a Diet Coke, something like that, is like a bomb going off on your nervous system. So it's literally destroying your nerve cells, it's destroying your nerve endings, and it actually increases your rate of Alzheimer's and dementias by 3 times. Every single time. Like, if you were to have a Diet Coke, you're increasing your rate of dementia and Alzheimer's up to 3 times. Aspartame also, when it's heated, gets turned into formaldehyde, which is another cancer-causing effect. And the reason why they put aspartame into products is because they market it as a diet thing, but it's actually known to help you gain weight.
So who's the Back to the Future guy? Fox. Back to the
Yes.
Future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fox. What's his first name?
Jamie? No,
not
the other
Jamie
one.
Foxx.
The other one.
The Back to the
Michael.
Future. Michael Fox. Yes. So he's got a brain disorder. Okay, I think it's Parkinson's disease, but he had a lifetime supply to Diet Coke. So he would drink 5 to 10 of these a day, and it's no wonder why this happened. You know, the reason, it's not the Diet Coke that's the problem, it's the way they make the Diet Coke. You know, how does somebody create aspartame or Sweet and Low, right? They take 2 amino acids and they bond it together with formaldehyde. And it's okay if it's in a package when it's cool, but if you put it into the tea or you drink it from other forms and it gets heated up in your body, now the bonds break and now you have free floating formaldehyde in your body. And again, this stuff is toxic to humans in even just low doses. I know as soon as I eat something with that stuff in it, like on accident, my brain goes into the shutdown mode just because my body's starting to flush this stuff out. But you get used to it if you drink it over time, and you actually become addicted to that stuff. And actually, if you're drinking Diet Coke and artificial sweeteners, it increases your chance of gaining weight. It does what opposite of what people think because of the stuff that you're being addicted to in your brain.
And something with processed foods in general, like you look on the back of a package, most people are taught to read the fats and the calories and the carbs and the proteins. And really, to be honest with you, none of you actually know what any of that means or what it stands for. And one huge thing that we're overlooking is the actual ingredients in packaged processed foods. And when you start to be cognitively aware of what is going on in those food packages, you're going to run to the hills from those things because there's chemicals. You know, I always tell my patients that if you can't read it, don't eat it. And then there's also dyes. So there's yellow, green, blue, red dyes, number 40, number whatever. But that's a neurotoxin as well. So anytime that you see something that is brightly colored or something that's crazily colored, that's a dye, that's a neurotoxin, and it's directly affecting your brain cells and your functioning there. And so we want to stay away from boxed foods. I always tell my patients to buy more things that come from the ground and have been walking the earth. So those things include things like fruits and vegetables. There's this brand new era of actually eating fruits and vegetables and getting back to the way it should be. But you also want to make sure that it's organic because now they're putting in pesticides and herbicides, and they're also genetically modifying these things. So that's all affecting our brain cells and everything that we have with that.
Okay, number 4, so gut dysfunction, we're on number 4. Number 1 was excess sugar. Number 2 was processed food. Number 3 was exposure. I don't think we did that. We skipped it. Antibiotic exposure from food and medicine. So any antibiotic that you inject, or if you have consumed antibiotics from products like animal meats, it destroys your gut bacteria. It kills, antibio means anti-life. It kills the gut genome and it destroys the bacteria life in your body.
Yeah, so what to stay away from with that is any dairy products that are not organic and raw are going to have most likely antibiotics in them. That also includes like poultry, chicken, eggs, and then not wild caught fish. That would be farm raised fish.
Yep.
And what else? Antibiotics wise, that's it.
That's it. Just don't subject yourself to antibiotics, okay? Because most of the time you have a viral infection anyway that these doctors are giving you these antibiotics for, unless you have a severe, like, horrible problem in your leg that's about to be amputated. I would not suggest doing that. Number 4 now is genetically engineered grains, which create foreign proteins.
Yeah, so to stay away from that, we want to go to, grains. I very highly try to stay away from that as much as possible. Have just recently gotten really a lot more convicted with that. So a couple of things. If you still have to have your bread or you still have to have your pastas, like a good pasta substitute is going to be like a spaghetti squash that you cook and you use it and it's just squash. So you're not getting those grains. A good bread is Ezekiel bread. It's got sprouted grains. They're from whole grains, so they're not genetically modified. There's no pesticides in those things. And you want to stay away from that stuff, because if you have the wrong type of grains inside of your body, your whole omega levels, which we'll go into in a little bit, gets flipped and everything changes.
Okay, number 5, the 5th thing to prevent gut dysfunction is avoid pesticides.
Same thing. I mean, just there's an app that's Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. I think it's just called Dirty Dozen. So when you're transitioning to buying organic fruits and vegetables, go on there. The stuff that says that it's the top 12 Dirty Dozen are the ones that you have to absolutely buy organic.
Things like apples
Are toxic.
dirty because it has a wax layer on it and it absorbs all those toxins and pesticides. Also, things like avocados, I would not go organic with those because they have a nice shell on the outside and you open it up and those toxins are not absorbed into the stuff that you actually eat from it. Okay, but always wash your vegetables and your fruits no matter what. Okay, let's get into number 3, trans fat consumption. The higher, it says here, trans fat, higher memory impairment, pro-oxidant, creates oxidative stress. Vegetable oils oxidize when heated. Let's say that again. Vegetable oils oxidize when heated. So just like we talked about with aspartame, it's okay on the shelf, but not when it becomes heated. And we are heating stuff up as we consume them. So talk about trans fats.
Yeah, so a couple of those things that we want to really focus on staying away from is like your canola oils, your vegetable oils, soybean oils, cottonseed oil. That kind of stuff is going to be those trans fats that are going to damage the cells on the inside of you, which I think these two here are kind of in the same category. And I want to talk about the good fats over in this section here, so let's pop over to that.
Yeah, so stop eating trans fat and basically balance your omega. By not eating trans fats will help you balance those omegas. So let's jump into number 4. What causes an imbalance in your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio?
Eating the standard American diet.
Right, so first of all, we should have a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 ratio, and that's it. Most Americans have a 20-to-1 or a 50-to-1 ratio, and the imbalance in the ratio, talked about what Dr. Kalie talked about at the beginning of this, it causes inflammation in your cells, in your tissues, in your organs, in your joints, in your gut, in everything. So this plus sugar, these two things right here are killing people, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to just get straight across here is that omega-6s or omega-3s aren't bad omegas. There's not a bad omega that you can have. However, if you have too many of these omega-6s, which is usually what the problem is, that's when you get the inflammation to happen, and that's when you need to start supplementing with a good omega-3 omega supplement. Excuse me.
What are some cases that have you seen come in with severe imbalance in ratios, imbalance, like what happened before and after?
I mean, I've had people come in with, we can even just talk like rashes, we can talk people that have like brain fog and cognitive issues, not able to sleep, not able to stay awake during the day, those types of things. And we have a maintenance omega. That's something that I'll put you on if we feel, or if we've had you tested, that your levels are good. But if you have something that is like an acute issue or maybe even a chronic issue, even someone who has like MS or Parkinson's or dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of stuff, anxiety and depression. We see a lot of anxiety and depression, migraines. That's all huge signs of omega imbalances, of inflammation happening in the system and in the body. As soon as I start giving them a high level doses of omega-3s, that inflammation gets driven down. I usually do about 2 to 4 weeks of high intensity omega-3 supplementation. We see that inflammation drop down, and they'll come running into the back like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever had happen to me. So it's way more crucial than you think. Also, when you have good omega-3s in your system, that's when your body really starts to detoxify, because it's opening up the cell layers and getting the toxins out of the cell, which is also helping you heal and function at a higher level too.
Guys, we have a pretty low view rate, and I think that destruction out there is robbing people from viewing stuff like this that will actually help people. So what we want is to provide people out there with information to help prevent these things. So go ahead and like this and share it. If you're on iTunes, please look us up, Tea Time with the Judges, and give us a 5-star review and just say something nice about us, hopefully. Because again, we're trying to spread love, not hate here. So again, it's about the balance. So what causes more omega-2s? Like in factory raised cows, why could a piece of meat cause an imbalance in a fatty acid ratio?
And that goes back to what we talked about over in here with the types of grains that they're feeding the cows. A cow is meant to graze the land and eat the grass. As soon as you start adding in grains, which are genetically modified and inflammatory, but then it's genetically modified and just bad grains, even in general, that's going to input inflammation into the cow's body. So I always like there's a saying that says you are what you eat. I always like to say you are what you ate. So it's going back to the source and back to the source before the source.
So basically you're saying that if a cow had a 50-to-1 ratio and you eat that meat, that's going to imbalance your ratio to 50-to-1 as well.
Correct. So that's why when you get like a meat, let's say you got a beef that is grass-fed and has good omega ratios. I don't eat meat very often, but I never say that meat's a bad thing. You have to get good quality meat, because as soon as you get something like a grass-fed beef or wild-caught fish,
then that's a bad thing.
What?
Not grass-fed.
No, I'm not.
The factory-raised meat
Correct.
and the farm-raised fish.
That's
a bad thing.
But when you have the grass-fed, when you have the wild-caught stuff, that is going to give you the ratio that you want to be having, so you can pretty much eat all you want.
Right. And again, it's about the balance. So let's talk about this. It's called slow-acting Creutzfeldt-Jakob syndrome. So basically, this is the human form of mad cow disease. So basically, you can contract this by contaminated meats from cows, or a person that has eaten that contaminated meat and you're trying to bulk up artificially or lose weight artificially through the HGH from that dead person's pituitary gland. Basically, they extract it from people and they inject it into themselves. So again, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why people would subject themselves to that, but we want to make sure that we prevent this from happening. So again, farm-raised cows is where to be.
So not even just with like the meat that you eat, but the types of protein that you take. There's these big name companies that you can go to the store and get big huge bottles of protein, especially like you big bodybuilders over here. It's the size of the bottle of protein that you have is probably the worst thing that you could think of.
Right. So if you're getting a 50-pound thing of protein
$20
and you're paying $10 for it, then it's probably doing worse.
Here's your sign.
I don't eat much protein, and I maintain my muscle mass because it's the type of protein that I eat. My body can digest it, assimilate it, and actually use it. But when you have protein that's filled with basically all this stuff that we talked about before, and you're consuming it daily, then it's probably not going to do you much good long term.
Yeah, so when you are getting protein, you're going to have to pay a little bit prettier of a penny for that, because you get what you buy, you get what you pay for. If you're paying for the stuff at the I'm not going to name any names of stores, but if you're paying for that stuff and think that you're getting a deal, in reality the deal is that you're getting this stuff. You may not feel it. Like when you're in your 20s and your 30s and maybe even into your 40s, you don't think, you think you're unstoppable, you think you can do whatever you want to do, but eventually that stuff's going to build up and the bucket's going to run over, and there we go.
Right, so if you like this stuff, this is just a preview to what we have at our next event in 2 weeks, October 14th from 9 to noon. It's called
Brain Fit.
Brain Fits. And again, we're going to go through this. This is just a snippet of the information. It's a 3-hour event where we help people understand this stuff in detail. And again, it's not just about preventing Alzheimer's disease and dementia and brain fog. It's helping our brains function and heal at its optimal level so we can experience life with joy, with happiness, and with abundance. That's how we were meant to be. That's what God's intention for our lives were, not with what's happening out there today. So the best, mental reform that we can have, mental health reform that we can have, starts with us and what we consume, how we exercise, how we think, and the most important thing, if the brain can connect to the spine, nervous system, out the organs and into the cells, tissues, and organs. So that's a huge component of what we teach.
Do you want to go into that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that your brain, right? The brain controls everything. It controls every cell, tissue, and organ. And if your brain cannot connect and communicate to those cells, tissues, and organs, it causes dysfunction or lack of function. And that's really the precursor to any disease process. We said inflammation is the precursor to the disease process, but thank God we have a brain so it can connect to those things that we've caused so much inflammation with and heal us, But again, we call it the 5 essentials of health. If we can connect the brain to the body and start eating right and exercising correctly and doing all the things that we need to be doing, then guess what? The package of that, right, we open it up, the only side effect is abundance, and abundant health, abundant relationships, and abundant wealth. Because if you're healthy, you're wealthy automatically.
Yeah, so guys, even if you erase everything that we talked about and get this point, because when I do my nutrition consultations, I usually wait about 30 days into their care here. And the reason why is because even if I give you the best protein and the best omegas and the best supplements and the best food plan, if your body can't assimilate that stuff, if it can't absorb it, if it can't do the right things with it, then it's a waste of time and money and energy. And we know that the power that made the body heals the body, and it happens no other way. So we have to connect the source to the body. Again, we've said this before, structure equals function, function equals health. If you want to see what your health looks like, you've got to see how well or what the structure of your spine is and if it's damaging the function of your nervous system. From there, we'll be able to tell you how healthy you are.
If you are local and you have not signed up for the Brain Fit yet, you can find it on the events page in our Facebook wall. And if you are a patient listening to this right now, make sure that you get you and your family and friends there today. Get them signed up today so we can get them there on the 14th.
Again, guys, broken people break people, healed people heal people. So I just want to ask you to be an advocate for somebody else's health. Just simply share this, like it, tag the person that you know that needs to hear this, send it in a personal message to them, bring them to the Brain Fit that we have next weekend, invite them to come to one of our dinners. Whatever it takes, just be an advocate for somebody else's health. If you know this information, it's time for us to go spread this and completely change our planet.
And people need more love. I got a text message from one of my cousins I haven't spoke to in about 2 years today, just telling me how much she appreciates me. And after the Vegas shooting, she wanted to just reach out and tell that to people that she loves. So I thought that was amazing. And I just want to pass the buck to you so you can do that for the people that you love and that you care about. Just send them a quick note telling them how much you love and care about them. If we can spread love one person at a time, this whole world changes, and that's what this is all about. So thank you all for being here today. Tea Time with the Judges out. We'll see you next week.